Welcome to the Chasing Rings podcast. All right, good afternoon. Happy holidays to everyone. Welcome back to the Chasing Rings podcast. Hope everyone had a good holiday out there. Joined again by my partners, Big Dude 76 and my brother G. Happy holidays. Happy New Year, fellas.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
All right, we're going to jump right into this, man. Obviously, it's football. That's all it's about right now. Obviously, we're in the midst of the college football playoffs. We've gone through 2 rounds. We're down to our semifinalists. Alabama, Ole Miss, Oregon, and Miami advanced in that first round and got into the quarterfinals where we had some serious drama in those quarterfinal games. We're going to jump right into that. One of the big things that we saw happen was the bye teams really struggled. Obviously, with the exception of Bama, boo. The teams that got the byes were basically it was a 1-3, basically, is what that looked like. So if we jump right into our first game, that Miami-Ohio State game, it was noticeable right away that Ohio State was not on its game. You could see the rust right off the bat. I think you could see Ohio State come out sluggish, and I think Michael Irvin really captured it when he said Miami came with the Category 5 hurricane on them, and they really jumped on them quickly. I did think Ohio State recovered and definitely had its opportunities. But I'm going to turn it over to you, G, since that is your Buckeyes, to get us started with the discussion on this. What's your take on the game, how it unfolded? What are your thoughts about what happened? How did Ohio State let this get away from them?
There's a part of me wants to say that there was rust, but then I see how Indiana played, and then I don't know if it was rust as opposed to preparation. Maybe Indiana did something differently during that downtime that other teams have done in the past, and they figured something out. But nevertheless, so I don't know if I'm going to go with the rust, but what I will go with is something that those of us who love the Buckeyes already know. Ryan Day is just not a good offensive coordinator. He's just not a good play caller. He's a wonderful head coach, and anybody saying that we need to get rid of him, they're off their rocker. We just need a better play caller. I think we needed a better coordinator to have them prepared. For the most part, I think the defense did as much as they could, but if the offense is not allowing them to be, have time off the field, they're going to be worn down, and so. Miami played the way we all thought Miami would play at the beginning of the year. I also think they had a chip on their shoulder the way the ACC championship unfolded. So, I'm not surprised that Miami won. I really just think we got outplayed and outcoached.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Big Dude?
Well, I would agree with you on all points, G. I would say that one of the issues with the offense was trying to figure out ways to run the ball. There was rust, as you say. We don't know what the preparation was, but to go in a big game like that and only rush for 45 yards. Ohio State rushing for 45 yards. They're not going to beat anybody in that. In those 12 teams with 45 yards of rush. And I do give Miami credit with the athleticism and all that they had. And Miami, of course, did it differently, with especially with Mark Fletcher Jr., 19 carries, 90 yards, number 4, and 153 overall. So it was kind of an inverse, as to what the Buckeyes needed to come out of the gate. And, of course, when we start talking about turnovers, that big pick 6, the 72-yarder by number 0, Keontae Scott, that really put a shock jolt in the Ohio State team. And I don't know that Ohio State recovered after that. And not only that, of course, The offensive tackles on both sides suffered tremendously. They got, meaning Miami got many pressures. And of course, Sayin was sacked 5 times. Although they played a clean game, they only had 2 penalties the whole game. The offensive tackles were not ready for that game and not ready for that athleticism on the edge. And, Ohio State tried to combat it with Jeremiah Smith with his 7 catches, 157 yards. But you can't just have a long passing game. And speed does kill. But you know what? A short passing game is what maintains the game. And they did not have that.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit shocked that Miami seemed to force the action in terms of the physicality. I had heard a statement from a few people, a few pundits early on about Miami being one of the more violent teams. And I'm thinking, well, Ohio State plays a pretty violent brand of football itself. And I think that's what really stood out for me is the pressure that they were able to put on Sayin. When I saw that, I knew that it was going to be a long night. Typically, Ohio State figures those things out. But Miami kind of kept their foot on the gas. But just when it seemed that Ohio State had figured it out and could, overcome what Miami had thrown at them, it just fell short. It's like they had a little bit of a lull, I felt like, on the defense, and then they turned it up a notch when it was winning time. But good competitive game. A little bit surprised, not totally shocked. I had Texas A&M taking out Ohio State in that round anyways. Didn't get that one right, but I guess the outcome was similar for Ohio State. But enjoyable game to watch for most of us. Sorry, G. And I was nice in my text messages until the end. I had to get you because you got me bad last time.
But we deserved it, man. I honestly thought, okay, we knew our field goal kicker was a little suspect. We hoped that his mind would be in a better place. Obviously, it wasn't. At the end of the half, when they were doing that quick drive down, we thought that they had figured something out. But honestly, you can't do that. You have to train to do that for a half. And so there's no way we could have expected them to do that type of hurry offense. And I do like what Steph said was that I don't think we used the short passing game to our advantage. And both of you know how I feel about Sand. He's not one of these cats that's going to use his legs to get out of trouble. And that was my only concern with Sand is that he's not mobile enough and he doesn't punish teams that are able to actually, to pierce the pocket. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I grew up in North Carolina, grew up with the ACC, so I'm not too upset that it was Miami versus another conference.
All right. So let's move on to this next game that we got. The first of the New Year's Day games was the Oregon-Texas Tech game. Pretty much unfolded as we expected. I mean, the score looked really bad. The final score looked bad, but I mean, it was a typical Texas Tech game. Their defense held it down. They held Oregon to field goals. That score stood on 6-0 for the longest. Then Oregon got it to 13. And, the turnovers, right? There's always the story of any football game is turnovers. And the turnover bug bit Texas Tech really bad. And those red zone turnovers, you can't recover from those usually. And certainly the DB for Oregon, the freshman, had a tremendous day, legendary day for a freshman to have.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Big dude, I'm going to start out with you for this one. I know you had Texas Tech make serious noise. And this wasn't a bad miss. They had their opportunities, Why don't you start us off with your synopsis on that game?
Yeah, bad miss on my part. And I still give it to the front seven with the type of ball they played to stay in the game and make it an interesting first half. But the offense for Texas Tech was absolutely non-functional. They gave the ball away. And in fact, I had to give it to Oregon. We bragged about Texas Tech's front seven. Oregon's front seven was fabulous. I have to give it to them. And I don't know whether their coach is a defensive coach, but one would believe that after what you saw to turn the pressure away, get 4 turnovers. And of course, Texas Tech's quarterback, G just mentioned the quarterback saying, let's see, Morton, their quarterback, Bayron Morton, he also was not much of a threat to run. And I think once they saw that, Oregon, they said, well, let's go after him. But Oregon's line just dominated. I think the football game in Oregon got to make the plays they had to. They dominated, and they helped number 4, that cornerback, that freshman cornerback, have a great game with their pressure. But Oregon just has those guys that are the NFL type guys, can use their hands, pressure people, athletic, good size. And I think the turnovers, like I said, it was too much. The defense held on as long as they could, but then they ended up pulling away from them to put the game away. And I think that, we learned something about Oregon. And I think Oregon still has a little bit left to continue to get better. That's the scary part. So
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised how well Oregon played on defense. Saw them a few times this year. Wasn't overly impressed with how physical they were. They're known for being a finesse team historically, putting up a lot of points, having an explosive offense. So I was pretty impressed with their defense. G, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I don't have much to add based on what you two just said. So I'll just have 2 things. I believe Oregon just confirmed why their offense is so potent. There is a philosophy that offense is the best defense. And so, and I think Oregon lived up to that. But to your point, I think, Steph, you made this point, is that their defense looked strong. And I honestly was not expecting that. I was actually expecting a much higher scoring game. But the point is, their defense looked really, really good. So we'll get to the upcoming games where this is going to come into play. But I'll end with, Oregon, they're just a potent offense. And once they finally figured it out, they ramped it up and they got going. Texas Tech just outplayed. I mean, I honestly couldn't say anything other than that they were just outplayed. But I will say it's a further example of that, whether we need to question whether or not guaranteed conference champions should receive a bye. And this is another, I guess, data point to put that question mark behind that procedural piece.
Absolutely, especially Texas Tech representing what we may consider a weaker conference. No disrespect to the conference, but not necessarily one of the strongest conferences in the country when BYU is basically your other team in the championship game. So, all right. The middle game on Saturday, my beloved Tide versus Indiana. So I guess I'll be the one to set this off. This really wasn't much of a contest past the first quarter, to be quite honest with you. Definitely will say that I was shocked at the fashion in which Alabama lost. I did expect them to be able to be competitive and actually have a chance in this game, but it was apparent early on. Alabama's failure to generate any type of run game throughout the year finally caught up with them. I mean, how long were you going to get away with not being able to run the ball, especially against a team with a good defense and specifically a defensive line like Indiana? And Alabama was outclassed seriously that day, outcoached. Physicality wasn't there. And there were points in that game where it looked to me like Alabama quit, which was very discouraging. Having been a Bama fan for this long, I've never seen an Alabama team quit. And at one point, I was literally just hoping that it would not get to a 50, 60 point situation because it was embarrassing enough. Now, from the perspective of me thinking IU, I never thought IU couldn't win the game. But again, the fashion in which they won it, super impressed. Bama couldn't move the ball and couldn't stop Indiana. That's what it came down to. I'll turn it over to you, G. I did not say anything negative about Ty Simpson, and I'm going to leave it there. Go ahead.
Well, I did make that observation. The first quarter, Only because Indiana beat Ohio State, I was kind of pulling for Alabama because I also want Alabama to help blow up the process. So I thought it was going to really be a pretty good game in that first quarter. But I mean, once second quarter hit, Indiana's just a juggernaut right now. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. And I mentioned before, they pretty much were not hampered by the curse of the winning their conference championship and having a bye. So they're dialed in a way that other champions, conference champions, have not been dialed in.
Mhm.
So I mean, I really can't say anything horrible about Bama. I really believe they played the way we all expected it. I hope they would have played better. We definitely played the way we expected it. I am wondering if some of the chatter about DeBoer being there and his leadership, I do wonder if that's seeping into the locker room. I don't know, Steph. You might have some thoughts on that, you too, Guru. But something definitely mentally, something didn't seem to be there for Bama that I thought was going to be there. The way they played the previous game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can pick it up from there, big dude.
Okay. I agree with you, G. Something when you go out there in a game like that, and you're out there on the biggest stage of them all, there always is, and you go out there and you run for 23 yards. An
Wow.
Alabama game in an Alabama team in a game that, hey, I'm saying to myself, if they beat Indiana, this is going to be the story of the year. And this guy is going to have his coronation, meaning their coach, Kalen DeBoer, and all. And that's what I was hoping for a good ball game, and that's where I was hoping that things would change in this particular round. But, Mendoza was also hot as a pistol, even though he only threw 16 passes. 14 of 16 for 193 yards and 3 touchdowns.
What was
He
their
was.
running,
What's that?
Steph? What was their what are their running totals? What was that number? You had that stat near you?
I do. They ran against a Bama team for 215 yards. So there is a
Wow.
lot. Gee, there's a lot missing, and Guru. I'm not sure what's missing. And I think that thing that I got with Alabama was that it wasn't just the fact that they even quit. I think they were playing most of the game. Usually, Alabama always plays a very fast game on defense. They know what they're doing, and they play very fast. They weren't playing fast. When you're not playing fast, that means you're not sure about what you're doing. Because usually people play fast. They know what
Hmm.
gap to cover. They know the tendencies of other folks, and they've been playing. And and I thought that game at Texas, I thought that game for sure was going to show them how to play fast on defense and cut down some of those things and make some of these plays and make it tough for Mendoza. But IU, they just ran over them with 215 yards rushing, and also Alabama struggled with both if you include both quarterbacks. They were 3 of 11 on their third down efficiency. So,
Well, do
and
you
they
have time of possession, Steph?
I don't
Oh,
I don't
okay.
have it. I can get
I'm
it.
sure that it was tremendously lopsided. I mean, Alabama didn't move the ball much at all until Austin Mack came into the game, which, a lot of Alabama fans were curious as to, okay, this
Right.
kid didn't have much preparation, obviously, for any game this season, let alone this playoff game. And he moved us
Mhm.
down the field 3 different times.
Yep.
Um, so, you have to question the quarterback decision at Bama, and then you have a 5-star in Keelan Russell also sitting on the bench as the third quarterback. So Alabama will have an interesting decision to make next year in terms of who will be leading that team at the quarterback. Certainly, Ty Simpson may opt to enter the draft. There's talk of him possibly transferring. So we'll see what happens there. But I think, Big Dude, you hit on a good point before we get into the Ole Miss Georgia game. That just did not look very Alabama like. And
No.
honestly, the team hasn't all year. On defense, going back to what you mentioned, they've always been getting punched in the face. They had stints here and there where they were able to make stops. And sometimes it may have been more of a factor of the teams they were playing making mistakes offensively, as opposed to Alabama really coming up big on defense. For example, a couple of pick sixes that changed the Oklahoma game for them, that changed the Tennessee game for them. Those are mistakes when you're throwing those type of passes in the flat. You're leaving that hanging out there. Those are mistakes to me from an offensive perspective. I don't want to nullify the play that the young man makes at cornerback on those two, jumping on those two passes, but Alabama's bent all year on defense, and the offense was very streaky. If you take the Georgia game, Alabama couldn't be stopped in the first half. Second half, I think they scored just enough to squeak through the game. So they're not getting off to necessarily a fast start most times. They have 2 or 3 games where they came out roaring, and then the second half is just a dud a lot of times. Oklahoma was definitely an anomaly, because I pretty much thought that game was over. So this team's been up and down all year. Jury's still out on whether it's DeBoer. We have a great recruiting class coming in. So I think next year will be the telltale sign for what DeBoer's reign looks like at Alabama, or if the reign will even continue. But I think you'll see a different team next year based on the class that's coming in. Again, granted, they all stay. So we'll stay tuned for that.
Hey, Guru, before you move on, sorry, go ahead. I thought you were going to move on. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So the committee will be asking the question about a 3-loss team as a result of this. And I don't know if they'll actually consider how the game actually went versus just looking at the score. But if you look at the score and the stats, Indiana just rolled Alabama. And it's like, so will a 3-loss team deserve to be in going forward?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered about the selection process. Certainly, we started off with the debate on who should have been in, who should have been left out. And there's always going to be debate on that, but there's definitely some explicit examples of things that the committee could have done better for this particular player. So, look at what we have left. We'll get into that shortly, but, we don't have 1, 2, 3, 4 left.
Right.
Right.
That tells you a lot about what happened with that.
And by the way, Alabama's time of possession was 25-39. So it wasn't bad, 34-25. So it wasn't so bad.
No, I thought it was more than that.
I thought. Yeah, better than I thought.
Yeah.
All right, so our last game, they saved the best for last for us on New Year's night. Ole Miss, Georgia. Wow, what a game, what a game. Both teams played. I really hated to see either of those teams lose. I really could have gone for it in overtime or 2 or 3 or 4 myself. It was like the opposite of the first game they played in Athens in October, where Ole Miss basically led going into the fourth quarter and then just fell asleep at the wheel. I think they had 13 yards total in the fourth quarter. Alabama outscored them like maybe 20-something to 4 or something like that. I know Georgia scored 17 unanswered.
Yeah.
Trinidad Chambliss absolutely went off.
Oh my goodness!
Game. He was on a serious burner. They did not look like they missed a beat not having their coach there. I forgot that they even had a different coach the way they played. And defensively, I was very impressed with Ole Miss making plays when they had to, putting pressure on the Georgia quarterback when they had to. And the Georgia quarterback, I'll give him credit, much better than I have given him credit for. Tough as nails.
It wasn't
made
bad.
Plays when they needed to. To come back from 10 points, I thought they were cooked. I did not think that they would get to the point where they actually had a chance to win the game at the end. So, G, start with you. In addition to what I said, what did you see or what were your takeaways from that Ole Miss Georgia game?
Yeah, I missed the first 3 quarters. I think you and I started texting in the fourth quarter. But I went back and watched the highlights and things of that nature. So I don't have anything in depth to say. I don't think it would be fair to that since I didn't watch the whole game. So the only thing I'll say is that I believe that the Ole Miss team, they came in just saying, you know what, forget it, forget Kiffin. We're going to just play and enjoy ourselves. And I actually was reading different articles where they interview players, and that kind of seemed to be the sentiment is that we're going to just go out, have fun. Because even those, when you and I were texting back and forth, something that I did notice was that Ole Miss players just seemed loose and unbothered.
Mm-hmm.
They seemed they knew the plays. They executed well. Again, I only saw the fourth quarter, so I'm like, they executed well. They were flying around with energy. I don't know how you have that much energy for 4 quarters, but they did. So I believe OU, it was a perfect storm where Ole Miss had some good players. I was doing some background reading, a good number of transfers in, but they stuck with the game of football, and now it's showing fruit. And they just ran into it. They being UGA, they just ran into the perfect storm that is Ole Miss. And we'll get to our projections, but I think my projections may have changed after this game.
Mm, interesting. All right, big dude. Wrap us up on this one, big dude.
Okay, well, I'll just say this quick without getting into all the statistics, unless y'all want a few. But you know, I was really turned off. I shouldn't say turned off. I would say I was surprised when Georgia went for a fake punt in a situation they normally didn't go. When they went for that fake punt, they did two things. I saw them go for a fake punt, and they also had plenty of time left in the game, and they went for it from their own 30. Like and they made it, but that told me something about what Kirby Smart thought about the defense. He was not confident that the defense was able to come up with the stops they needed. I don't know whether he thought they were tired. So it's not that you don't take a chance in those bowl games. The question is when did Georgia get so gimmicky and get so desperate at an early stage? Those are what I saw. And of course, you're up 21-12 at halftime, and then Chambliss turns it on to him in the third quarter. So I thought that third quarter also where Georgia could not score. When Georgia was not able to knock that ball in, they had to end up tying it with a field goal. I thought for sure they were going to score and make it very difficult for Ole Miss. But when they couldn't do it and everything turned around, all those points, that's one of the things I did learn from playing college ball, playing for Paterno. He said, if you take away the statistics and everything, there's usually 4 plays in the game. I'll say, and in this case, Tage, there were 2 plays they were successful in, but it told what it was that the issue was, and then you had, people like Kewan Lacey ran on them. And of course, Chambliss was just a huge effort, to a Georgia team that the coach on defense did not show confidence in. I was pretty disappointed actually to see that.
Yeah, it's funny that you used the desperate word, big dude, because I agree with you. And then don't forget there was that last time that Georgia went for it in their own end that they didn't get it, and that was basically the separation in the game right there. That's when Ole Miss converted the touchdown on the next play on a great throw from Chambliss and ended up going up by 10. And then Ole Miss had that swagger at that point, even though Alabama did have a chance to win it at the end. You could definitely see that Ole Miss believed that we could win the game. So, great game. Great game. So my household is an Alabama and a Georgia household. No one went to bed happy that night. So
wow.
Oh
hey,
man.
Because I said
I won't respect that.
Guru, I said this to you. I love it when coaches are aggressive, but I honestly didn't think about it could possibly have been fear plays. So, Steph, I didn't really think about it that way.
I
So I
think
thought
G,
it was being aggressive
if you had seen the first half, if you
huh?
had seen the first half, G, I think you would have probably saw it differently because
Okay.
I think Big Dude nailed it. Kirby didn't think that they could necessarily contain Chambliss in that
Okay.
offense. So I think he was feeling, hey, every time we get this ball, we need to get a score out of it. And if it was a makeable fourth down, or makeable first down, he was going to go for it on fourth down, which the way the pace of the game was going, I really disagree with that last one because that was the separator in the game. But hindsight's always 2020. Georgia still had a chance to win it. So as Steph said, it came down to a handful of plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's get
into Ohio State not trusting our kicker. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Let's get into our semifinal games here. All right. So who do we have here? We got Indiana and Oregon in a rematch. This will be our second rematch of the playoffs, obviously, with Ole Miss Georgia being the first.
Right.
G, give me your thoughts on this game, including your winner.
Okay. I think if Indiana just does what it's currently doing, they'll hold Oregon. I do believe it's hard to beat a strong team twice. You know, they met earlier. I want to say it was in October, and Indiana pulled that one out. But I believe they'll beat them twice.
What are your thoughts on this one, big dude?
Uh, IU is playing, I say, the best on all ends right now. I mean, that's what's interesting. I think I don't think that there is an area that they're not playing well in. With Oregon, as good as they are, and they did, they beat Oregon 30-20 last time. Neither team is the same team, and that's the scary part about IU because IU came out of State College, Pennsylvania, with their lives. and nearly almost didn't make it out. On any other day, I don't know that those catches that were made or any other day were there, but they made them. They made those plays. It made them somebody else, and it made them someone else to that Rose Bowl game. I think the difference is Oregon will fight them for 3.5 quarters, but IU will just be too much for them.
Yeah, the first game in Oregon was a really competitive game, and Indiana pretty much enforced their will at the end of the game to win that one. But I think that Oregon got away with some stuff against Texas Tech that they will not be able to get away with against Indiana.
Right.
And I agree. I think Indiana takes this one. I think it'll be competitive in the beginning. Again, very impressed with how Oregon played defense against Texas Tech, but Indiana's a juggernaut. And while this wasn't a traditionally strong Alabama team, it still was Alabama. And
Yeah, it
Alabama,
was.
so you take that for what it is. And I'm a believer. IU, IU on this one. Our next semifinal, Ole Miss and Miami. This is going to be an interesting one to me. You got two teams kind of coming in hot, feeling themselves. Weren't supposed to be here. No one had them here, right? Steph, give me your thoughts on this game plus the winner. Your winner.
Well, I think we got a new greatest game of the year. Very close game. I think that, as you said, the team is rallying around the current coaching, and we could have another show on who else has been another coach who doesn't coach them benefiting from this. That's another show. The U, of course, has a solid, and I said they have solid quarterback play. Not great quarterback play, but good enough where not a lot of mistakes are made. They're not going to beat you with 65-yard passes and all that. Strong up front on both sides. I think both teams are. I think the difference in this game will be Coach Mark Cristobal, and this will be a Coach of the Year type effort. In a close one, I will take the U.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this one, G?
For me, it really depends on which Carson Beck shows up. I believe Ole Miss, the Ole Miss that we've seen is the Ole Miss is going to show up. I think they're consistent in that regard. We know Carson Beck has not been consistent this season in big games. So it depends on which Carson Beck show up. If the Carson Beck shows up that plays the way we expect someone, what is this, like his fifth year playing?
Yeah, I believe so.
Something like that. He has all these games under his belt. If that Carson Beck shows up, the U's going to win. But I believe Ole Miss, I think their front can actually pressure him
Yeah,
and
yeah,
make him force plays and just make some bad decisions, which you all know that when he's pressured, he tends to make some bad decisions. So I don't know. I can't really call this one. I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah,
you can't call it.
No, I can't call it.
You
I'm
can't
with
call
you. I'm with you on not being able to call it. I am going to make a pick, though. You're absolutely right about Beck. I think that his hand was never truly forced against Ohio State. Um, the defense did its thing. Um, the running backs did a really nice job of picking up extra yardage in key situations that kept Beck out of those situations where he customarily gets forced into those mistakes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this game, I think, is going to go the same way. I think he won't have to win it. I'm picking Miami because I think Miami's better on defense. I think that they'll find a way to contain Chambliss and the Ole Miss offense. And I'm saying that slowly because I am extremely hesitant on that being the case. But I think Miami, again, I keep using that word physicality. I think that they will enforce their physicality on them, and I think they will score more than they have. Their offense will look a little bit more explosive than they have.
Can I say this real quick? I
Yeah.
don't think it would be a good situation for Chambliss to have to throw the ball 46 times. Now
So why is that?
because Miami's not going to let him, because
Yeah,
there's going to
they'll
be a
eat
lot
him
more
up.
hits on the
Hey,
quarterback, and you're setting yourself up to get sacked like maybe 7, 8 times, rather than 3, 4, and 5 times with that athleticism. And Ole Miss has the players and they have everything else, but if you can't run the ball against Miami, and I think they'll have a chance if they can run the ball. I think they ran it for 100, almost 100 yards on Georgia. So that would be a good start if they could run the ball. But if he was 30 of 46, which is very impressive. You throw the ball 46 times against Miami, you're putting yourself in harm's way by doing that.
You took
So
the words
y'all
right out of my mouth, big dude. I was just about to say, if Ole Miss cannot run the ball, which I don't think they'll be able to, they're going to have big trouble. And I think that was Ohio State's downfall, even though Bo Jackson had some good runs. And then
Oh, yeah, that
whether
kicking
it was
play.
a penalty or a negative play, kept getting
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State in third and long situations, forcing Sayan to have to make a play. But that
Mm-hmm.
run game would be very important for Ole Miss in this game. I'm sorry, G, you had something else to add to that?
Nah, go ahead. I was gonna say you all don't think Chambliss's legs can hold Miami at bay.
I think that would be great. What I'm talking about is him having to pass. That's just what I'm saying. He's going to have to
Mm-hmm.
go do it. And Chambliss, I don't know if that's the same. It's just this a different challenge. Georgia was good last week, but maybe we overthought Georgia and maybe oversold Georgia. But these guys can run with Chambliss, and Chambliss is a smart quarterback, And he's also, you mentioned somebody having 6 years. Chambliss is 23 years old himself, so he's
Oh yeah.
he's been around, So I'm waiting to see how smart he is to use his legs. What I'm saying is, it's smart for him, even if it's a pass play, to figure out where he can get 10 yards and slide rather than to sit in that pocket and give himself a chance to get hit.
I
So
gotcha.
I say yes if he's able to do that strategically. We'll find out how smart he is with these opportunities that he's going to have. But Lacey is going to have to be the hammer if they're going to have a chance.
Yeah, G,
Mm-hmm.
you actually bring up a very good point that could be
Yeah.
the difference in the game. Because if Chambliss does use his legs, now Miami's going to have to kind of hold off on being so aggressive, on their pass rush, right? So
Right.
that'll be a key variable to look out for. We need to remember that point because I think that will come into play in this game. If he can get out of the pocket and make them a little bit tentative, then we have ourselves a situation. But
Yeah.
I
Yep.
really like that Miami defense. Category 5.
Well, I ain't gonna give him all that.
We
Just
just need to
because,
do a show on Michael Irvin's antics on the sideline.
and especially because of that.
I thought about you, Steph, when they kept
Because
showing
of,
Irvin.
because of his antics on the sideline in 1980, January 2nd, 1987, I won't give him that.
Hey, you can at least say he hasn't changed, right?
Well, I think he's demonstrated that. Hey, I ain't
All
mad
right.
at him, He didn't do nothing too bad. He at least stopped. Then he just wouldn't stop. And him and
Yeah, he
Tim
was
Minow
having
and all them
fun.
almost getting
He was
Tim
having
Minow and all
fun.
those guys getting a fight before the game almost. So, but
Yeah,
anyway,
he
we'll
was
talk
having a
about
good
that
time.
else.
Let Mike live, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, let's get into NFL Week 18 here.
Oh, we
Um,
Philly boy.
I
Philly boy.
love when we get to this time of year when we have these Saturday games. And I don't think, gentlemen, that we've ever had a year pan out like this where so many things can still happen with seeding, home field advantage specifically. That number one seed is up in the air in both conferences. And the magnitude of the games that we are going to be treated to over the next few games. I mean, the games today have serious playoff implications. Obviously, starting with this first one, Carolina at Tampa. Um, I didn't even realize this because we were traveling on Monday. I didn't realize that the Falcons' upset of the Rams kind of shifted this in Carolina's favor today. Tampa has to win and needs help. They need the
Right.
Saints to beat Atlanta. I didn't because before that it was just head up and whoever wins is in. So this complicates it. So Tampa needs some help here. I'm gonna start off with UG on these picks. Carolina, they're your team, so it's perfect that we get to start with that game, our first game this afternoon, coming up in a little less than an hour. What are your thoughts on this game, and who are you taking?
I need our offensive line to be consistent. We don't need Bryce Young having to run around a lot. We need our secondary. Our front seven is pretty good. Our secondary can be shaky, so we really need them to step up. We don't have the greatest receivers in the world, but they're serviceable. When Bryce Young has time, he has shown he can get them the ball. So, long story short, for me, is if Carolina plays a clean game, we win. I don't think it's going to be one of these outside barn burner type games. But if we can play a clean game, we will win.
All right. What about you, big dude? Thoughts on the game and your winner?
Agreed on all points. Keep Baker Mayfield in the pocket. Play a clean game, and I think Bryce Young gets his first playoff win today. I mean, on the way to the playoffs, so he can
It
get
is a
his
it is a playoff game for all
right.
intents and purposes.
Okay, so for all
Yeah,
purposes, it's his first preliminary playoff win. But
right.
I will take Carolina.
Yeah, I agree with everything you both said. I think this is going to be Bryce's national coming out party because a lot of people haven't seen him. Depending on
Mhm.
what market you're in, rarely do you see Carolina. I think that Tampa Bay has really ended this season on a dreadful note with all of the weapons that they have at their disposal on offense. They have not played well. I don't see them all of a sudden turning it on today. They're banged up still, even though I know Evans is back and a couple of other players are back. I think Carolina is ripe to win the division and for them, Bryce Young, to have his first playoff game. I'm going Carolina.
Thank you. Thank
All
you. Thank
right. You were afraid that I was going to go against you, G?
you. You're going to be a hater.
Nah. And I love Bryce. That's roll tide, baby. So you
Yeah.
already know. Our night game. I can't. The NFC West, right? Yeah, NFC West has been so entertaining this year. Anytime these teams matched up, with the exception of the Arizona games, of course. But those other three teams they've been playing ball all year. So I can't wait for this one. Seattle at San Francisco. Seattle's path is pretty clear cut. Win this thing, you're the one seed. They
Right.
lose, they drop all the way down to the fifth seed, which is crazy. San Francisco wins, same thing, one seed, but a loss can drop them as low as 6 if the Rams beat Arizona.
Oh wow.
Um,
Yeah, I
G,
read that. That's crazy.
What do you think on this one?
Defense wins championships. So,
Yes.
I think Seattle can win. Darnold has to play well, but I definitely believe it's really. Y'all hear me say this a lot. It's difficult to win twice. Their first meeting was a 4-point win, but I believe Seattle's going to pull this one out.
What about you, big dude?
I think San Fran's at home, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think San Fran and McCaffrey and those folks are going to need to protect their quarterback. I don't know how long the quarterback, again, that's my thing with San Fran's quarterback. Can he hold up? I mean, I think if it was different and they had Sam Darnold, I'd be picking almost San Francisco to win the whole thing. I'm not sure about how much heat the quarterback can take, but it's going to be up to people like McCaffrey and Kittle's probably isn't back today, but he'll be back for the playoffs.
I thought he was back. Did he get hurt again?
I thought he did get hurt.
He got
Yeah,
hurt. I didn't see him get hurt Sunday night. I thought he was back.
Maybe I missed that. But as long as he's back and back to himself and able to be a deep threat and make those catches, and I think San Fran's defense, of course, now that you have their original D coordinator back, I think San Fran limits Seattle. I mean, if Seattle wins, it's going to be scary either way. But I'm going to take San Francisco in a close one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be close.
I don't have much to add. It'll be a close game. I'm taking Seattle strictly because of the defense.
Right.
I think Darnold will have a big game. And an interesting stat with Seattle, Darnold is known for nothing to bed in these situations. He has had a few games that they've had turnovers this year, and I think they won all of them except one. The last 2 or 3 games, he's had 2 turnovers, and they won all of them. I think their defense is that good. I think Seattle wins this and has home field throughout. Our first set of games tomorrow, the 1:00 sessions, Indianapolis at Houston. Houston can win the division, but they need a little bit of help. They need Jacksonville to lose. Houston can drop as low as the 7th seed, so they can be a division winner, or they could be the 7th seed. Indy at Houston I believe Riley Leonard is going to start for Indianapolis. I don't believe Phillip Rivers is going to play.
Yeah, he's done.
They're gonna see what Riley Leonard has if they look at next year with him and Anthony Richardson. G, what are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, Texans, they just have too much for Indy. And I think Indy, their trajectory, which has been losing, is going to continue. So a beat down.
Not even close.
I don't think it's going to be close.
All right. What about you, big dude?
I think it's the Texans. The Texans, they're as long as they play clean, they should win pretty convincingly. Indiana will probably make some plays, show the talent they have. They're a very talented team, Indiana, but it's hard for them to put it together. I think Houston knows the way up here. So I'm going to go with Houston.
Yeah, I agree with you both. Not much else to say there. Houston, nasty defense. Defense wins. Green Bay at Minnesota. Green Bay's locked in at the 7th seed. They're either going to play Chicago or Philly based on what happens in those their respective games. G, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I was reading that they're sitting a lot of their players. So I think Vikings they're going to just win just because Green Bay is like, we're locked in. Doesn't matter what happens. So we're going to sit and we're going to see what some of our backups can do. So Vikings are going to win it.
And Minnesota's actually, oddly enough, the favorite in this, probably just for those exact reasons that you mentioned, G. What do you think?
I picked Green Bay. I'm thinking the same thing that everyone is saying, but I think Willis may play today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Willis has a lot to prove, and Willis needs to put on some type of show today. And I think that'll be the difference today. Willis doing well enough to win the game today.
All right. I'm going Minnesota. Not much else to say about this. I'm going Minnesota. Tennessee at Jacksonville again. Jags are actually playing for a number 1 seed with a little bit of help. They need Denver and New England to lose. They can also go as low as the 7th seed. So they could be the division champs or and number 1 seed or be the 7th seed. Tennessee at Jacksonville.
If you like blowout games, then you want to watch this one.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can say. Tennessee is just not good.
Yeah. What about you?
And I say the same thing. Jacksonville, and it was Travis. We'll see if he gets 3 TDs. We'll see.
He's out.
I was going to say he's back.
Oh, that's right. You know what? He sure is. Well, whoever's in Travis's spot, let's see if they get 3 TDs.
I can't even name one of their receivers. Actually, if I was put on the spot, I could.
No.
I had 5 or 10 minutes, maybe, but I'm with you guys. Jags in this one. That should be pretty easy. Our afternoon games, and the NFL was pretty slick how they schedule these games too. There's no situation where teams are getting the opportunity to just kind of sit back and see what happens and say, oh, well, that happened, and I don't need to do anything. They're playing at the same time as other people who can impact their seeding for the most part. So I like the way they did the schedule. I don't agree with much.
I didn't pick that up, man. Guru, I did not pick that up.
Oh yeah.
No, that's me.
Because they have Houston and the Jags going at the same time, and that's for the division. That's that 1 o'clock slot going the same time.
Wow.
And then you got this 4 o'clock slot. You have Denver and New England going the same time. You got Buffalo and the Chargers going for the same time because that might probably be for the 6 or 7. So that first afternoon one, the Chargers at Denver, G. What are you thinking about that one?
I was reading reports. LA we can expect them to rest a good number of their players. So Denver will likely win this going away.
What about you, big dude?
Well, and I have to be honest with you. I want to act like I gave you the pick. I don't want to switch it. I did. This was, if anybody cares to know, is my upset special of the week.
Really?
LA Chargers. Only because, really, and more because of the personality of the coach. He doesn't seem like he wants to give away too much either. So nothing real big, and and again, I wasn't on that one. That one got by me. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I had already picked the Chargers. I don't want to be unethical and change my pick. But I'm going to go with the Chargers, and I'm going to stick with them.
I'm going Denver. Still playing for that 1 seed, man. Got to finish business. I'm going with Denver. I don't expect that one to be close, actually.
No,
Miami at New England, G. New England 1 seed as well.
Yeah, I hope I pronounce his name correctly. Is it Ewers?
Oh yeah,
Miami.
Yeah, Ewers.
EWERERS.
Yeah, he's in for a long day. I believe New England's going to roll.
Yeah. All right. What do you have, big dude, on that one?
It's New England. New England will do enough to win. They won't need all their first string to win, I don't think. I think that they'll be okay.
Yeah.
So we're all in agreement on that one. Washington at Philly. Not much on the line here for Philly. They can get the 2 seed, however, if they win and Chicago loses, but really no other movement aside from that. But they can drop to they're in the 3 spot now, so they'll just stay where they are if they lose and Chicago wins. So not a whole lot to play for. I believe they're sitting their people as well.
They are.
So, G, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, you're right. I was reading reports that they are sitting players, they being Philly. Also reports showing that Washington has a number of injuries that could impact this game if they really, really were expecting to win. I think Philly is still going to win. Because I also read that the head coach still is going to play this game with the expectation to win. Similar to the LA Chargers coach. They still expect them to win.
Yeah, their styles are pretty similar Sirianni's is a little bit grittier in some ways. But,
And what
yeah.
about you, big dude? Your boys,
Yeah, it's not that. I guess I'll take a peek at it with Tanner. Gosh, I forgot his name. Our
McKee,
backup. I'm sorry.
Tanner McKee.
Yeah, Tanner McKee starting. I'd like to see how he does. I'm not as excited about the rest of Philadelphia is about him. I'm not sure what that's all about. I know he's done some stuff, and that's good to hear. They'll win. Philly.
Yeah, I think something that Philly needs to be careful of in this game. Philly wins it, but
Mhm.
if you remember the game that they played just a few weeks ago, I think it might have been a couple weeks ago. Actually, it got really chippy at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
It did.
Philly. I'm
Uh,
going to be very careful with engaging Washington in that and making sure that my key players are not out there to be susceptible to any type of dirty play and resulting injury. So
right.
yeah, Philly that.
Thrown out.
Last game, or not our last game actually. Detroit and Chicago at Chicago. Chicago can clinch the 2 seed. They can lose. Philly wins, drops them to 3. What you got, G?
I think Chicago is going to win because they have a lot to play for. This is serious business. But I also believe that Detroit truly deep down wants to spoil their day. So I would not be surprised if Detroit wins, but I do think Chicago will.
All right. What about you, big dude?
Yeah, almost word for word. Gee, I'm with you on that. I know that Detroit they hate to lose. But I think they're not going to cry in their beer over it. But you know,
Right.
I think Chicago wins because they'll do just what they have to do to win. And again, the biggest thing is you talked about the chippiness, Guru. I would say I would worry about the chippiness of that game uh,
Yeah.
with the
This,
personality of Detroit's coach.
well, this might be very chippy just with the Ben Johnson factor. You guys forgot about that.
Right.
But
With
from
him
an OC to
leaving,
Chicago head coach now, that can
that's
get
Yep.
right.
nasty. And you
And he's
know
going
Ben's
against
going to
Dan
want to
Campbell.
win.
That's right.
You know Ben Johnson's going to probably show them what they're missing and rub a little something in, and Detroit's going to want to win just as bad to show him. So that
Yeah,
Exactly.
that could be an interesting game with not very much on the line.
Yeah.
yeah. I say it's not a bad one to watch, but
Yeah.
it'll be
I'm definitely
competitive.
watching that one.
Yeah.
Next up to bat, we have the Jets and my Bills at Buffalo. Last game at Highmark Stadium before we move into the new stadium. What are your thoughts? Oh, Buffalo has a very set of complex scenarios here. Right now, we're sitting in the 7th seed. We can move up to the 5th, but there's some a lot of things have to happen. Too many things for me to commit to my memory. I'm like, win your game and see what else happens. But
Exactly.
probably their best scenario is the Chargers losing to Denver and being able to move up to that 6th spot if they beat the Jets. But I don't see them getting the 5 because Houston's either going to win the division or get the first,
Hmm.
the 5th spot. So, what are your thoughts on that game, G?
I believe New York Jets is going to win. No, I'm joking. No, I believe Buffalo is going to win. I do know that y'all offense nursing some injuries, and I think I read that Allen they're going to probably rest him a little. And but
Yeah,
what I can see this, what you say,
I don't think
Guru?
any. I think he might play the first play, and then just
Mhm.
keep the streak alive. And I don't think any of the starters are playing, except maybe Cook a little bit, which I wouldn't do, but that's me.
See, I was thinking they're going to use this game to really focus on their run defense. So I think that a lot of the offense is going to probably be out, like you were just saying. But I
Hmm.
wouldn't be surprised y'all defense is going to be y'all starters just to practice on that run defense.
Hmm.
But I mean, you're a Buff fan, so you probably have a lot more insight than I do.
I have no idea what McDermott's going to do today. I know that we need to win the game because I think that the Chargers probably are going to lose. So if we could hop up to that 6th seed, I really don't want to play New England again yet. Like I don't.
Yeah,
that's going to fare too well if we go to Foxborough next Saturday or Sunday. Not that I would be overly confident going to Jacksonville or Houston either.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you got to play somebody, right? So can't avoid them. What do you have, big dude, on this one?
Yeah, that's poor Aaron Glenn, Buffalo. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I'll take Buffalo,
poor
but I
Aaron
wouldn't be
Glenn.
surprised if the Jets won.
Well,
But
but you know what though? We're just wasting, and we're wasting time with having that brother in there, man. It's like, you got to find something else, man. Get a different type of spaghetti dinner or something. It just is not working.
I think if they give him another year, I think you'll be surprised what the Jets do next year.
Hey,
They
the
have
Jets fan.
a lot of draft picks. They have some good players on there, but I just think it's a defeated team.
Hey, the people in North Jersey and the deli want to give you a kiss on the forehead for that.
I have a lot of Jets friends.
I figured that.
And I don't have it, and I'm not saying it for them. I could care less about it. I mean, the Jets aren't like the Pats are in the middle of my Bulls. I don't care about the Jets or the Dolphins enough to hate them one way or another. They haven't been relevant enough. So
no, I have
maybe
a
when they're
friend
good again,
they're
good again, I'll have a little bit of anger or bitterness towards them. But right now, I do pity them.
And Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Me too.
Arizona and the Rams, last 425 game at LA. Rams need to win and the San Francisco win to get to the 6th spot, which sounds crazy because the Rams were just the king of the world about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They can win with the Seattle win, gets them to the 5th spot. So what do you have on that one, G?
Oh, LA Rams, they're trying to do their best to get the best seeding possible. So they have to win.
All right, big dude.
Yeah, I'm with that pretty much. I don't know what it's going to do for we're going to play it. I'm sure that they were looking forward to having a home game, which actually you wonder which home game you want out west. One, I can tell you the home game I know I don't want my team, the Eagles, to play out west is Seattle. I don't want that. I don't want that away game. I don't want that away game at all.
Let me tell you what, that was a really bad loss for the Rams Monday night. So if their season does not go the direction that they thought it would, they can look back to that game because they cost themselves big time with that game.
How many interceptions did they throw? 3? Was it 3?
I didn't see the entire game. I forgot that there was a game on, and then I had a notification on my phone about the Rams coming back, and I said, "Oh, so I only caught like maybe the last half of the 4th quarter."
Oh, okay.
But yeah, interesting. All right, nightcap. Great matchup to end the season with everything on the line here. Pretty simple. There's no seeding situations. There's nothing. Winner takes the division. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. What we got? What you thinking, G?
This is the hate bowl, and I expected to live up to it. So I think the Ravens are going to win. But oh my God, this is going to be a slugfest.
Should be a treat. But you got, big dude.
Well, I did a lot of questioning myself about this one because I'd like to see both teams in if it was some way. I mean, I don't think it's a playoff having Baltimore. That's me. I enjoy both Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and that's not to appease the fans because I can't stand really the Steelers themselves. I like the coach. I don't like the organization that much. However, as we look at this particular thing, and now that we have, as you called him a long time, Gerald, I don't know if you remember Lamar Wonderful, now that he's back, and now we got, Derrick Henry back on, which means their offensive line is back on. I think this is going to be we're going to get a quirky ending to this. I don't know. Something tells me like Derrick Henry is going to pass for a halfback option pass to win. I don't know how, but I'm going to say Baltimore on a very late score in some ways. They pull this out. I would love to see Mike Tomlin in another playoff, but I just think Baltimore has got a little bit too much for them here at the end, and I think the Steelers have pulled their last wild card.
Yep.
Hey,
Well,
I'm sorry, that didn't come out right, did it?
I know what you
came
meant.
out exactly right.
Yep.
If you had asked me earlier in the week, definitely last week, I would have picked Baltimore. I feel like the Steelers will find a way to win this game. I actually think Lamar playing might hurt the Baltimore because
Oh,
I don't think he's healthy. May not even make it through the game. I think Huntley would probably be good enough to beat Pittsburgh tonight.
so
Tomorrow.
Snoop Huntley, do they play better with Snoop right now, or is that because is Lamar making? He doesn't appear to be making good decisions these days, and I don't know if that has to do with his health, but or
Yeah,
is
he's
Snoop?
making hurt decisions. Yeah, he's not. I mean, look at him. He does not run, and he's not committing to these runs like with the Lamar that we know.
Right.
You know, he's hurting, and I don't blame him. I mean, it's everything on the line. You got to play, but I just don't think he's healthy enough. Anybody that knows me knows that I cannot stand Ron Rodgers,
Right.
but I think that he's got one more rabbit to pull out of the hat.
Ooh.
And I'm
Well,
going Pittsburgh.
and let me just say this: I would be okay with it if there was a way that Aaron Rodgers could figure out how to get away. That Steelers offensive line is just not what it used to be. That's why I think the difference
I was
is.
thinking.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I just feel like something weird's going to happen. It's too easy. The way Henry looked the other night, you got to be like, oh my God, Pittsburgh's going to get murdered. It can't be that easy. Just do not see it being that easy. And I'm sticking with the Steelers on this one. All right, gents, any final comments to add about anything that we've discussed? The CFP playoffs, NFL Week 18. G, I'm rooting for your boys in a little bit here.
Yep, but I'm pulling for your boys. I actually don't have no hate for the Bills, so I actually kind of like this story. So
I don't know how anybody could hate the Bills, to be quite honest. We're such a sad story. I feel like if we made it to the Super Bowl, unless you were a fan of the team that they're playing, everybody in America would be rooting for the Bills, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the 90s when they went to 4 Super Bowls, right? Or was that the 80s?
90s.
That was the 90s, yeah. And so after that, I was just like, I felt that they were the best team of the 90s without winning the Super Bowl. But ever since then, I've kind of had a soft spot for the Bills.
Do you know if we ever made it to another Super Bowl, I don't know if I could even sleep. I would be so scared. Could you imagine if we lost the 5th Super Bowl? The jokes are bad enough as it is. I don't think I even come outside for a long, long time after that, man.
Hey, you even clowned your own team. I got to send you that Halloween picture. Don't worry.
You don't have any choice. You have to laugh at yourself after a while, Steph.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You know what I'm saying? Laugh to keep from crying, man.
That was the best part of football. And you know what? One person I'll never forget that I met when we won the national championship. The first person I met when we went out, it was Jim Kelly. And about it. He was the first person. Yeah, because he kind of, I can't say, on here, even though it's a podcast, he made some comments when I met him. I didn't understand why and forgot that he was a king because he said something to me that wasn't so nice, and then he brought me a drink.
Yeah, Jim could be a little raw. He wasn't. Yeah. He never got an award for being the nicest dude, I don't believe.
You know what? He signed, even though he cussed a lot of people out behind the scenes, he signed all those autographs.
He was a bad man. He was a bad man. Not to have a Super Bowl. Not to have a Super Bowl is crazy, as good as those teams were. But
Daryl Talley, Thermal Thomas. Oh, man.
It is what it is, man. But look, man, thank you guys for joining me again. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of the Chasing Rings podcast. Continue to follow us as we continue to grow and build this thing. And we'll figure out a regular episode release for you all. I know we're all over the place right now, but stick with us while we come up with a regular, consistent time that you could find us and tune in to watch us and listen to us. Available on all major platforms. Happy New Year again, everyone. Peace, fellas. Enjoy the games this weekend.
Happy New
Peace.
Year. We coming west, G.
All righty.
We got to figure it out.